next few lessons, we're going to be developing an accounts package. And to do so, we need some test data. Now, I could provide you with the test data, but actually generating the test data allows us to also test some of our prior knowledge and introduce some new ones while we're going along. So let's do it together. The first thing I'm going to need is I'm going to need a selection of random dates. And that means we've got to explore the date function. Now, let's have a look at what we mean by dates in Excel, because Excel is quite unusual in the way it handles dates. Let me put a date in. Let's put the 31st of the 12th, 2021, for example. Now you can recognize that as a date, and if I change that to a long date, we recognize that's 31st of December 2021. But what if I convert that to a number? It becomes a rather strange number, 44561, and you might try to work out, well, why? Well, that's the number of days since a particular date. Let me show you. So I'm going to go to the 1st of the 1st, 1900, and I'm going to convert that to a number, and that's day 1. So everything Excel does is based around or based from the 1st of January 1900, a relatively arbitrary date, the beginning of the 20th century, and that's where all dates are generated from. So if I want to generate some random dates, then I need to know the date ranges that I'm looking for, and simply putting in dates doesn't work. So what could we do? Well, we could then use a function called date value. So let's just have a look. Let's suggest that we want to have the beginning of a year. So let's put equals date value. And then what I'm going to do is, you can see it says date text. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put in the 1st of the 1st, 2021. Now the reason why it says value is, did you notice it said text? And I meant to put speech marks around it. And that's when you see the word text is telling you I need speech marks. And that's fine, we've got it. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that down to here, because I'm going to use almost the entire same thing, except I'm going to change it to the 12th. Now recognize this is the UK version of dates. The US has the month as the 1st. So yours in the US would be 12/1/2021. It's just the way, it's just how we differs with our dates. So if I go to there, these two numbers are our dates that we require. These are the dates. This is the 1st of January 2021, and this is the 1st of the 12th 2021. Of course I want the end of the year, just realized that, so let's put the 31st. That makes much more sense. So I've now got the beginning to the end of a year. That means I can now use that data. I can put equals rand between, and if I could spell between it would help, rand between open brackets, and I'm going to just put the values in at the moment, 4197. In fact, no, I'm not. I'm going to do what I was going to do. I'm going to click on there, then I'm going to press F4 to lock that in, comma, click on there, and then press F4, and then close the brackets. Being lazy in computer science, it would have taken me longer to type the numbers in, might have got them wrong. I've now got a way of calibrating that. If I press enter, it's now randomized the date. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to use that bottom symbol just to pull that down. We're starting at 3. I want 500, so I'm going to take this all the way down to 503. Ooh, shot past 503. So there's 503. I've got 500 dates. They don't look like dates, but they are dates. How do we know they're dates? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll right to the top, click on E, and tell it to mark this as a short date. And there's my dates. And that's excellent. I've now got 500 dates. Really useful. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to select all those dates. There we go. I'm going to do Control C on my keyboard to copy them. But remember, we could have just gone to copy there. I'm then going to go back up to the top. I'm going to click on the very first date. And then I'm going to right click on the mouse and choose the one that says 1, 2, 3. So I'm basically going to copy on top of them the new dates. We saw them change because it updated the rand between before copying. I've got the ants going around the outside, but these are now just values. And we can see that because there's no formula now. So I've got the ants, so I'm going to press escape and the ants have stopped. I'm going to click on E up here and I'm simply going to tell it to sort. And notice, by the way, it recognizes these as dates oldest to newest. So I'm just going to choose oldest to newest. And we've got January the 1st at the top, all the way down to somewhere in December. and I can just check that by holding down the shift and pressing the arrow, holding down the control and pressing down the arrow, and there's 31st. Control, up arrow, back to the top. So I've now got a good selection of dates. So what do I want next? Well, what I want to do is I want to, first of all, this is nice to have. We would have put this in otherwise. But we're going to, if you don't have the first of the first, then remember all you've got to do is either use the spare cell up there or simply right click and insert and just type in 0101 2021 or overwrite the top one if you haven't got it. It doesn't matter. As long as the one at the top is the first of the first 2021. It's not essential it's that date, but it's just helpful if it is. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a starting balance. And we're going to put in 1,000. There we go. I'm going to click up here and I'm just going to double click there just to widen everything out. And I don't need this one anymore. We've got that. Don't need those. So I'm just going to select these first 3 columns and delete them just so that I've got this one spare column there and then these here. I'm only keeping a spare column in case I need it. I'm not planning on using it, but we'll see how it goes. I now want to have a set of options of topic areas which we have credits for. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to put the word income in there. And I'm just going to put in a few things that we spend our money on monthly. So you can see that this is going to be the account system. Now I'm putting in things that I know occur in the UK. So obviously everyone has an income, hopefully. Utilities, gas, electricity, water. We pay for separately in the UK, you may not. We have something in the UK called council tax, but in most countries there's a local tax of some form. So local taxes, you might have a mortgage or you might have rent, so we combine those together. And of course you might spend money on groceries at some point you're going to. We're going to have an insurance. And I'm expecting you've got more than one insurance, so we're going to put that in twice. And then sundries, those things that we spend money on, but they don't fall into any other category. We do want to make sure we've covered eating out and entertainment. And then that's really all our spending. So then what we're going to do is we can take that and copy it and then look for the beginning of each month. So there's February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and last but in no way least, December. So we've got all the months there nicely laid out. Now we've got a lot of space in these months. We're not necessarily going to fill them all up. We don't need all 500. But what we can do now is start to use some of these. The insurances, we've got 2 of them. Let's say contents insurance and car insurance. That's all we need. Similarly, we've got utilities, water, local taxes and mortgages are all one-off payments. What we have got here is things like income, groceries, sundries, eating out and entertainment can appear more than once. For example, you may have a regular payment going out to a subscription service, but you also might be going out to the cinema, obviously eating out. And the sundries, as I say, are those one-off things, but we have a lot of them. Things like birthdays and Christmas presents or celebration presents or whatever else. Income, we're going to have 2 incomes, but every now and then a third income because sometimes a little bit something else comes in. We might have a small amount of money come in. So we're going to have that. And to do this, one of the ways of doing that is simply to select some of them. And we don't need all of these, but let's just fill out a whole range of these. In fact, I probably could just grab that and drag that down and I'll get the scattering of it. Then I can grab things like sundries and just intersperse those. Sorry, push the wrong key there. So just keep pasting randomly around, getting rid of certain things. And then it doesn't matter if you overwrite things. So it doesn't matter if you overwrite sundries that I've just put in and put too many groceries in or anything else. It really doesn't matter. Income we can then add in, and we can just make sure that we get at least one every now and then, put a second one in, so we got 3 altogether, and do that. And then just do that for each month. What the spare months you've got here, just simply select and then delete those, and we can say, well, there's January done, for example. It doesn't matter how many of these you get, really doesn't. This is just test data and just gives us an idea of what we're looking for. I've already done one for the year, so let's do some magic. And there we have it. I've gone through, I've got all mine here, and there's 12 months worth of odd bits and pieces all scattered around, and that's fine. So, and I've got my initial sum there. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to select these, and what I want to do, I'm just going to choose the whole of January. And I don't want to take any further because that's just replicating. And what I want to do is I'm going to want to copy these and put them along here, and that's called transposition. They're in the vertical, and I want to put them into the horizontal. And that's relatively easy to do. In fact, it's very easy to do. And this is something we haven't looked at before. We've used the copy function loads of times. I'm going to click up here, and then I'm going to go to right click. The first one is our standard paste. We're used to that. We know how to paste. We've got used to the idea that we can click on values, and if it's a formula, it pastes the values from those formulas, not the formula. This one allows us just to paste the formulae, no formatting or anything else. This one is to transpose. You can see what it does because it gives us an example. It shows us what the outcome will be. All of those would be in the horizontal, and that's what I want. So I'm going to left click on that, and now I've got what I wanted. I'm going to just go up there and double click just to get the right width for everything. I've got income, utilities, water, local, mortgage, groceries, sundries. I've got income again. I don't want income again. I've also got insurance twice. So I'm just going to select those 2 columns and delete. Yours will be different. That's not a problem. I've got sundries, but I don't have eating out again. So I'm just going to delete that once I've got eating out. Sundries and groceries, and that should leave me with entertainment. And I've got everything just appearing once. That's all I need. So what I want to do now is I want to randomly choose some data, and I want to choose that, but it needs to change for each one of these, and I want to use that to populate these with some values, relatively realistic, not massively realistic. They've just got to be worthwhile, and we might have to tweak them later on, but we'll see how that goes. So let's start doing that. The first thing we could do is choose. I want to have an income, let's say between 1,000 and 2,000. Now, I could simply say equals rand between 1,000 to 2,000. The problem with that is that the number I get is a neat round integer, a whole number. And we don't get whole numbers. We want fractional numbers. We want this to look relatively realistic. So what I could do to this is I could just add 2 more zeros on. Now I've got this number here, and if I then copy that number, right click and paste the value, then I get that value, and it's way, that's a nice salary. But what I could now do is I could use this just to bring it back, but even that doesn't want to work. Nothing, the between doesn't recognize that. So what I've then got to do is I've got to alter this by saying now it's going to be equal to that, and then tell it to divide that by 100, and then I'm there. But now I've got again, and it just becomes messy. I could have gone back to, I've just done Control Z, by the way. Control Z is an undo command. I'm going to go back to the formula. I could have done here and simply said divide by 100, and that would give me the fractional number. And again, then all I've got to do is copy, right click, and just put, and it's just messy. Another way of doing that, and that works perfectly fine. I've got a reasonable number there. It's not a bad number to have, but I want to show you something else. And I also want it to be dependent upon this as well. So I want my formula here only to generate a number if this is this. So I'm going to do that. I'm not going to use the rand between. I'm going to introduce you to the rand command, and we're going to look at how that works. And so let's begin. So the first thing is equals. If this is equal to that, well, I've used the language if open brackets. If this cell here has the same contents as this cell here, then what? Well, I said I want to introduce the rand command. So I'm going to put rand and then just 2 close brackets. Don't have anything in between. Then I'm going to do comma, and if it's not equal to, I just wanted to put the value 0. Now, just to see what that does, you can see you've got fractional number there. I'm just going to pull that way. And I'm doing that so you can see the 0 works, by the way. That's the only reason for pulling it that way. Now, this here, that's clearly not an income. And my rand is just generating a number between 0 and 1. So how do I force it to do different numbers? Well, what I do is first of all, I can add to it my minimum number, the value that is my minimum value. So for income, I want that to be 1,000. So that now will generate a random number from 1,000, but it'll be 1,000 and some random decimal. So I've only added 1,000 to it. I now want it to increase this to potentially to a maximum of 2,000. And what I have to do here is I have to multiply the number I've got, the random number, by the difference between my two values. Let me try and explain that a little bit better. I want an income between 1,000 and 2,000. Now the difference between those is 1,000. Oops, that's 100. Let's use the right numbers, it would always help. So the difference between 1,000 and 2,000 is 1,000. So what I have to put here is the difference between my minimum, which is here, and my maximum, which I know is 2,000, so I put the difference in. Let me just come off of there because I've just ruined my formula, and that will work. What I'm going to do is get rid of those, and if we do that, we can just watch that number, and it's changing quite nicely. Now, the other thing is, if I pull this way, then it's going to lose its link with this. So I need to make sure that that link, this blue boundary, stays. But when I pull it down, I want the row number to change. So I just want to put $1 in front of the C. That needs to be locked. When I pull this way, that's good because income will become utilities. But I'm going to pull this down. So I've got to remember that when I put it down, I do want the F to change to G, to change to H. I do want that, but I don't want row 2 to become row 3. So I need to put $1 in front of there. Now I can quite happily pull that this way. And now I can go through each of these. So just to prove this works, by the way, if I grab that and just pull that down for the first month to there, you'll see a scattering of values, but they're all between 1,000 and 2,000. Now, our utility bill, I want to have, well, these are gas and electricity. And in the UK, the minimum probably comes out of about 150, let's say 100. And the maximum of these can be as much as another, let's say, can go up to 300. So our difference there is 200. So we'll go for that. Nothing's changed elsewhere because I haven't replicated it down, but you can see the marker saying, hold on, the formula below are different. So that's fine. Our water, we're here in the UK, that can from between 50 and 75. So our minimum is going to be 50. So we're going to change the plus, and our maximum is going to be, well, let's add another 50. It could go up to as much as £100. So let's do that. Local taxes, or local taxes range from 150. That's our minimum, to again 300. So the difference there is another 150. Our mortgage or rent, well, again, our mortgage and rent, well, we want to hold this quite tightly here. So I'm going to stick this to £1,000 plus or minus, plus £5 potentially. So something around the £1,005. So we're going to keep that relatively tight. So we want to be consistent throughout. Our groceries can change, as we all know. Our minimum grocery bill we're going to have as 100, but we could end up spending as much as £150. I'd say these don't have to be absolutely realistic. You might be sitting there going, God, I never spend that much. Or you might think, hey, how's he spending so little? It doesn't matter. It is purely just random data. Our sundries, well, we could stick that at 0 because sometimes we don't have anything, but let's say now we always spend at least £10 a month. And let's say that with Christmas and birthdays. Maybe we want to go as high as, we don't want to go too high. So let's take it up to £50, the difference being £40. So let's go for there. Insurances, well, insurances can range from 20. So let's put a £20 into there, 20 there, and it can go up to 40. So let's put another 20 there. Eating out, well, let's suggest it's a family for 4. It really doesn't matter, and they can go to somewhere quite nice and get a £20, a famous burger bar. They might be able to go and spend £20, but equally they might go out and really splash the town and spend another £80 or £100. Let's say £100. So there's a difference of £80 there. So we put that in, and then last but in no way least, anything in entertainment could be their subscription charge of, let's say, 15. Whilst they could go to the cinema and spend a lot more, so let's say 85 is the difference there. That means again we're looking at £100. So £100 for a night out. If we now take that and we pull that downwards, we get our values, and they're funny decimals, but that's fine. We're going to sort that out shortly. And I'm going to pull that all the way down to the bottom before it shoots past. There it goes, nice and slowly. Pat it down slowly to the end, and I've got those there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this side here, and I'm going to use another if statement that says, actually, I don't need to. All I've got to do is equal the sum total. So add up all these rows. Well, of course, most of them are zeros. So I'm going to end up with whatever number is there. I'm going to pull that down. And again, I don't mind them keep changing to random numbers. It can keep doing that. That's perfectly happy to do so. Right down to the bottom. And the last thing we're going to do for this particular video, I'm going to copy that, go to here, right click, paste. Going to widen that cell, going to right click there, and I'm going to paste value. That's what I should have done. There you go. Nice and done. All done. So those parts are done. I said the last thing, but obviously I want to get rid of these now. So let's just delete them. And I want this to be currency. So I'm just going to stick on currency. And now we get some really nice figures appearing there. So we will see how this works out for us. Okay. In the next video, we'll just add some details to this. See you in the next video.